Hello, everyone. It's me, Clayton. I just finished watching the Invincible special episode for Atom Eve. Yes, Invincible Season 2 isn't coming until November, but a special episode has been given which shows us the backstory of one Atom Eve. You remember her from the first season, the girl who can manipulate molecules and atoms at a molecular and atomic level. Well, her backstory isn't exactly very cheerful, despite how kind and hopeful that she is. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story details Samantha Eve Wilkins's journey to becoming a superheroine after we find out that she was apparently the result of an experiment involving a man named Dr. Brandyworth, played by Stephen Root. His experiment ended up causing Eve's mother to not give not give birth in a traditional way, but she ended up as the daughter of Adam and Polly Wilkins. She knew that from a very young age that she was a lot different from the other kids, since she was able to memorize atoms and molecules at a much faster level than anyone normal should be able to, hence why she was put into a special school, even though her main excelling points were with science, as expected. But when she happens to discover her abilities, she decides to become a crime fighter while also discovering some of the other experiments that she was attached to, who basically end up as imperfect clones, who try to take her down one day as they try to have basically the most screwed up family reunion that you can think of. Not only is Phase 2 of the clones, played by Jacob Tremblay, an absolutely terrifying foe, but I actually felt pretty sad for the clones too, especially considering that most of them were just trying to do what they felt was justified. Especially considering that one of the special agents that's after Adam Eve and her powers, named Erickson, played by Lance Reddick, and probably one of his final roles, is genuinely terrifying. I forgot how scary Lance Reddick can be when he's allowed to just play a completely irredeemable villain, and Erickson is definitely that kind of villain. It's too bad that he's gone now, considering that if he wasn't, I would have liked to see him maybe come back in the second season that's happening pretty soon, but it's unlikely. Plus, he does his job as a one-off villain for Atom Eve pretty well. And the young girls who play Atom Eve in her young child and tween forms do a great job with her, especially considering she has to go through plenty of traumatic events. But that doesn't stop the episode from having a lot of fun action. I always felt Adam Eve's powers were a lot more creative than Mark's, and the fact that she can turn various items into other things, like turning rocks into a parachute or turning a sandwich into a cheeseburger, makes for both some fun visual gags and some really creative action scenes. I do hope that Adam Eve gets to show off a bit in season 2 as well, even if the story is, going back to Mark. Plus, at the end, there is a fun little after credits scene that shows what Mark was doing while this whole situation was going on. Of course, this is before Eve and Mark ever met. So maybe they could end up together in the second season, because I heard they do get together in the comics, though the show has shown that it can deviate from the comics quite a bit. But that's not to its detriment. Often the show ends up feeling like it's much more well thought out and much more interesting with its progression and with its character writing than the comic ever was. Almost like the comic was just a first draft for the story that we'd eventually get. But as far as the special goes, it's exciting, it's crazy dark, but at the same time very fun. Exactly what you'd expect from Invincible, and I'm glad to see the series is coming back in style. So I'm going to give this special a 9 out of 10. See you next time.